We'll now be looking at the political factors, which is part of PESTLE, that have an impact on business. Logically, the political environment involves political institutions. So these could be your local government, who will enforce local planning laws that might decide, say, if you're a nightclub, the hours that you can blast your music out on. They could be national government. So many examples, I'm not going to bother to list them. It could involve other governments. So if the American government does something, then that could have an impact on what British firms can do. It could be international organisations, biggie for the UK being the EU, but also bodies such as the International Monetary Fund, the World Trade Organisation, or the World Health Organisation. Again, the reason why I've included that is that it was them that declared the pandemic that shut up an awful lot of firms in 2020. A lot of the impacts of government policies, particularly tax and spending and legislation, has been covered in other videos, so I will not be repeating those on this video. One new thing on this video is deregulation. British governments have been doing that for more than the last 40 years. That means them getting out of British firms' way. Why do they want to do this? Well, they feel that if a firm is in a competitive market, then it's more likely to be more efficient because it's going to want to reduce its costs. It's also going to want to increase sales. Two ways that it could do that. One, by reducing price. Again, it needs to reduce costs to do that normally. Or secondly, it can start to develop new products that people want. If you want some decent examples of how deregulation has worked in different sectors, well, going back quite a few years now, banks were not allowed to issue mortgages. Why? Because they weren't. Now they can. Similarly, building societies weren't allowed to offer current accounts. Now they can. If you wanted a pair of reading glasses, say, you had to go to an optician's, even though reading glasses actually don't require a specific formula. Well, now you can just buy them from Boots. Other political factors that British firms might be affected by. Well, the biggie is, of course, Brexit. So in June 2016, by a narrow majority, the British people decided that they wanted to leave the EU. The nature of that has been left up to government and parliament since then. At the moment, it looks as if they're going for a hard Brexit, where they're going to break an awful lot of links with Europe. Why is that important? Because many British firms export to Europe, and many British firms have got supply chains running through Europe, and Brexit will have a major impact on that. Secondly, at the moment, I'm recording this during the coronavirus shutdown. Again, that came as a result of laws and rules imposed by government. Third example isn't the British government, it's the American government, where they've imposed tariffs under Trump on, for example, British steel exporters. Similarly, the government gets involved in big infrastructure projects. So if you are watching this in London, Crossrail is going to be a big transport infrastructure project there. Similarly, HS2 is a big rail infrastructure project. Broadband provision at the moment, there's considerable discussion as to whether Huawei should be involved in that. Huawei, a Chinese company, and President Trump does not want Huawei to be involved. Finally, government or parliament can investigate certain firms. So when they were looking at the tax paid by multinationals, a parliamentary select committee were looking at the what Amazon did. Amazon basically pretend that all of their European activities take place via Luxembourg, because Luxembourg has a particularly nice tax regime for them. Google, when you access Google from London or Leeds or wherever, as far as Google's concerned, the profits for that are generated via Ireland. Again, very similar reason. Starbucks, you have a cup of coffee from Starbucks, you're a British person, supping coffee made by nowhere near the Netherlands, but Starbucks put all of their profits through the Netherlands. Why? Because the Netherlands has a particularly nice tax regime for coffee. As an example of that, for many years in total, Starbucks paid less tax on their profits than a cleaner at your school or college would be paying in income tax, which was something of a scandal at the time and could, of course, have had an impact on their reputation, sales and profit.